This is another Clash Academy Valhalla Files special. Epic 3 stars versus Town Hall 10 with healers. Yes, healers. Now, what you need to understand about a healer is that she starts by targeting the closest unit that has taken damage. After that, she'll look to see which units have a higher housing space or groups of units. And the more housing space that group of units has, the more pull it has to take that healer and have her change targets. It also has the ability to keep her on the target she has. So, prepare for the dreaded quad healer attack. I started using this strategy after the update because of the poison spell. The poison spell really freed me up to use more healers in my compositions instead of blur troops. The earthquake spell also gave me some neat tricks to use and also allowed me to queue my spells differently. This strategy trains really fast and packs a hard punch. I always deploy my giants into two groups, a lot like golems and a go wee wee. I deploy my healers immediately behind because they're a lot more predictable this way. It's a lot easier to make sure she ends up on the units you want her to heal because the giants have a high housing space as a group. As you look there, I'm going to hit to the left and to the right to clear the buildings there. It's because I want my units to go down the center and into the core. And in this group, I always have about 7 giants, 7 or 6, and I want them to go ahead of my Valkyries to start occupying the nearest Inferno. And once those units start closing in and that Inferno is occupied, I'll drop a Rage spell and I'll blitz that nearest Inferno. Once that nearest Inferno is destroyed, I'll freeze the second one and place a heal spell. That will allow me to basically get my units that were damaged up to full strength, and because of blitzing the first Inferno, I free up my spell space so that I can carry things besides freeze. Healers have the benefit of if your wizards get close to a wall while they're trying to shoot down buildings, the healers will start healing the wizard because often they'll be alongside the giants. The healers also give the giants some time to work their way through the walls, and because of their higher DPS, they eventually will. This is an advantage you don't get with golems, and even though they need a lot more support, sometimes they will be able to carry you to that 3-star. Now I'm going to move into my second 3-star. And I'm going to point out some qualities of this base that made it great for a quad healer. If you look here, once I drop those earthquake spells, I've pretty much opened up the entire base. So my units aren't spending a lot of time attacking walls. That's pretty important because healers and giants, particularly if the wizard towers are right behind a wall that they have to hit to get through, get whittled down by splash defenses rather quickly. Now if you look at this base here, the air defenses are spread wide, and wizard towers are on the outside layer. That's important because they're not near the core, where my units might spend some time trying to attack their way outside of the wall. The giants and Valkyrie actually do pretty good if versus point defenses, but they take a lot of damage to splash because of the large groups they have. If you look here, I'm going to go down the middle again, and I'm going to point out the importance of waiting with this technique until you take out the first Inferno. That means the timing of the spells becomes really crucial. You have to time the rage so that you quickly take out the first Inferno, and you have to time the freeze so that you make the maximum use of your heal spell. And if you do that, you'll break the base and hopefully have plenty of oomph to continue attacking the rest. What I really love about this strategy is it's so terribly efficient. I use all Tier 2 troops basically, and the only DE troops I really use are the Valkyrie and the DE spell of Earthquake. So if you add in the 1,300 loot bonus I get at Champions 2, I make massive amounts of Dark Elixir, and I'm able to take on pretty strong bases. The only ones I really watch out for are those Zap ones or Max Heroes, because well, Max Heroes can be tough to take out. But otherwise, the strategy is really efficient, and it's pretty fun to do because, like I said, I like imagining the faces of these Town Hall 10 players who probably only ever get strong hit from a Go Wee strategy or a Lava Lunia to log on to see a giant healer-based strategy, 3-starring them. This is actually the raid that got me started thinking about doing this video in the first place. As you can see here, I still have a jump spell and 1 poison because I didn't have access to the earthquake spell yet at this point. I had started modifying my tornado at this point, using 2 healers on one set of giants and then a golem on the other side, because I was still using lure troops, so I couldn't really afford to have 4 healers. But I used basically the same strategy. I hit left and right. I have an extra freeze spell in this composition, so I'm able to use that a bit earlier. But the first time I used a strategy on this base and I got a 96%, I really wasn't expecting it, and I probably could have gotten 100 if I hadn't just spammed my troops near the end. But honestly, I was quite surprised. I've been using the strategy for a long time, and 3 stars at Town Hall 10 are pretty rare. But as you see here, it's pretty effective on these bases where you don't have to spend much time destroying walls. And the Valkyrie actually clear through the weakened parts of the base that you've hit with Earthquake really fast because of their splash damage. They're doing damage to 2-3 buildings at a time, so that extra damage you do with the Earthquake spell is actually really effective, in particular for the quad healer. This next raid is a particularly devastating one, and I want to point out some of the reasons the base was pretty vulnerable to this attack strategy. If you look there, the splash damage is on the outer layer and close together, and air defenses are close together and in the center of the base. This means my giants that are being healed can focus on the wizard towers while they don't have to worry about the actual splash damage because of the healer, and my Valkyrie and main giant force can rush forward and take out the air defenses before they become much of a problem. I'm actually going to steamroll this base, and my queen's going to make it out pretty much with full health. And that's pretty much because this base is just perfect. If you look there, the sweeper really isn't a big factor in where I attack from, because usually sweepers are near air defenses, and they'll actually push the healer back out of the range of the air defense. Briefly there, I had circled that space there, and that's why I attacked from that angle, that little gap where the base jutted out there. The Valkyrie were more likely to go inside. Anytime you have a ring, if all the buildings are basically touching each other, the Valkyrie, because of their AI, will pretty much follow the ring around. So when you choose a point of attack, you really want to choose a spot where there's a gap in that ring, and that's where you blow a hole with your Earthquake or your jump spell, because the Valkyrie, they're going to look for where there's a group of buildings. So if there's a gap somewhere in that ring, it's the best place to reliably get the Valkyrie where you want them to go. So if you look here, I basically have just about all my healers still kicking. One went down to that air defense, and I am just slaughtering the base now. I've encountered wizards and witches in the CEC before, and they're pretty easily taken out by the poison spell. And then lava hounds are a bit of a gamble. If they lock onto a giant, they really do absolutely nothing. If they occupy your queen and wizards, they can basically mess up your raid. But there you go, 4 3-stars against Town Hall 10s with healers. So this has been a Valhalla Productions under the Clash Academy series. Special thanks to SK, the original inventor of the Valkyrie Tornado. I'm no longer an active player, and please check out our other allied clans.